Good morning, LinkedIn friends, HubSpot Nation. Welcome to another episode of Let's Build Profoundly, continuing the journey of introducing our early pros on the platform. Today, uh, Casey Hawkins joins us. How you doing, Casey?
Good morning, Chris. I'm doing well.
Awesome. Well, we'll dive right in because otherwise we're just going to talk about a bunch of other stuff that we just love problem solving so much. I think it's easy to go down these rabbit holes. But today we're introducing you as a profoundly certified pro, and that starts with your HubSpot expertise. So if you can tell us what that is and how did you get it?
Yeah. So I usually start my HubSpot journey in 2017, way back when. I started at a HubSpot Diamond agency partner, web mechanics at the time, now level. I was working under my boss at the time who had a bit of a specialty in HubSpot. And really, I just followed in her footsteps. Go ahead and shout out my boss, Camille, in case she listens. She does sometimes. And from there, I kind of fell into HubSpot more and more. By the time I left the agency in 2022, I was one of the HubSpot subject matter experts at the agency and a part of the marketing at the time newly created marketing ops department at the agency, bringing in HubSpot specialties there. Leaning marketing, but obviously Marketing Hub and Sales Hub work very closely together. So nowadays I work mostly in Marketing and Sales Hub, dabble in Service Hub, and then obviously a lot of CRM work and then some landing page and stuff as well as it comes up.
Sounds like a journey for sure. I feel like there's like a class of 2017 that we could create because that was definitely when I started in January. And it was such a transformative time because Sales Hub was being introduced, Service Hub got introduced that year. And so I've always had the mentality of this is a full platform, not just a marketing tool. So maybe we can get that group together someday.
That's my class in 2017, yeah.
Yeah. So the journey is there. What like when people reach out for help with HubSpot right now, what are you likely to be best at helping them with?
Typically, the people I'm working with nowadays have had a failed implementation or an unsuccessful implementation. I'm sure that sounds super unfamiliar to people that never heard of that before. And that happens a lot of different ways. Sometimes they worked with a HubSpot partner or HubSpot directly for their implementation, and maybe it happened too quickly, too early. The team wasn't really ready. And so now they have completed implementation, but it's just not really working. Or a lot of my people I've been talking to, even in the past month or so, are more startups. And I've just been talking about you can tell a startup HubSpot instance pretty quickly because it looks like it was built by a bunch of different people who had a bunch of different intentions. And you'll see a lot of duplicate properties and kind of things are half built here for one person's specific needs, but not really linked to anything else. So that's another very common instance is people that started using HubSpot quickly, but put a bunch of maybe different people on the team in there who all started working themselves. And now they're 6 months, a year, maybe even 2 or 3 years down the road, and they're suddenly realizing that HubSpot isn't working quite as they intended it to.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
now
This is
I'm
the flip
helping.
side of the easy to use system, right? So easy to use that you can put it in front of everybody and they will all choose different paths towards getting their job done. And this reminds me of the admin hug yesterday. John Dick was on there from the leads customer success at HubSpot. And it's interesting how many different ways, people approach implementation, onboarding. And so since there's kind of so many ways to really get this right or get it wrong, if somebody says my implementation didn't go well or what is your go-to as far as figuring out exactly why they're in that situation?
Obviously, it's always going to be different. The first thing I will always do is an audit. I've been trying for probably the past 5 years to make a HubSpot audit template, and I just can't make one because every HubSpot's so different. My old boss, Camille, actually asked me recently, she was like, "Hey, Casey, can you send me your audit template?" Like, assuming that I had one. And I was like, "Oh, so here's the thing. Everyone's so different. You just really need to get in there and look at it." But on the flip side of that, also talking to the team about what they're intending to do inside of HubSpot. Just yesterday, I was discussing with one of my clients the QuickBooks Online integration, whether it should be a two-way sync or a one-way sync specifically. The two-way sync is notorious for causing issues, and my client was asking why we were setting it up as a one-way. And so, I kind of go back and I'm like, why do you need it to be two? Like, do you need it to be two-way? Is it worth the potential problems that the two-way sync could cause? And do you have the availability bandwidth to support the two-way sync and manage it on an ongoing basis? So to answer your question with a question, I think every implementation, you really need to get to what the team is planning to use HubSpot for. There's no point in me I can create HubSpot email templates if you're never planning to send, or not in the near future at least, maybe planning to send marketing emails out of HubSpot, you're just going to use your sales team. There's no reason for me to create email templates for you to just sit there and not use. I'd rather set up email sequences and maybe some sales templates for your team to use and customize that way.
Yeah, no, that's such a good point. Like, and I applaud you for getting there because literally, like the audit template is basically like, oh, have you heard about 5 whys? Yeah, that's the template. Like,
Mhm.
ask whoever's using all these questions until you're super clear on where to even look. That's where, I was in a similar conversation and related to his question that he asked yesterday about like time to value
Mhm.
expectations,
I
right?
thought that was really interesting too, Chris.
Right? Like just the idea that they even have like accurate expectations about how long this process should take, how quickly they should see value, right? When for me, like the stuff, the HubSpot stuff itself is the fastest,
Mhm.
like always, which means the people management, the change management is like the stuff you got to get to before anything matters in HubSpot, especially when you show up and they've got all of customer platform. And I'm guilty of this too. Just like, all right, they've told me this. So I'm just going to start talking about, I'm going to analyze these processes. And I had to take a step back last week to say, like, okay, let's go through everything you use HubSpot for right now. And we got to the point where it's literally just a data repository
Mhm.
and nobody actually has to use it for any task in the business because they've got things like QuickBooks, they've got other mechanisms in place to get the business done. So good job standing your ground and like, no, there's no like if you try to templatize this, that's why we are where we are, where we're hearing about so many, failed onboardings and implementations.
And I've worked I've done, I don't know, person. I was going to say hundreds, and I was like, I don't know, tens probably of these onboardings, and I have followed templates. But like when you're following a template, then you're doing things just to do them. And actually, the same client that I'm doing the QuickBooks integration for, they had given me a list of things they wanted, and one of the things on that list was some changes to their chatbot, but they ended up kind of internally making some changes to that. But they had given me this list, and the chatbot was like at the top of the list. And when your brain just like sticks on a loop, I could like hear myself like keep bringing up the chatbot as they were like, that's probably not as important anymore. So I think it is important to also, even if they give you a list of priorities, like knowing when to move on from those that may not be as important anymore. And that's why when you get stuck in a template, and even to I don't I don't love my contracts to be like a checklist for that same reason. I prefer to leave my contracts a little bit more open to what the needs are in that moment, because those do change. Like, okay, when we kick the project off, a chatbot was important, but now that's less important. And we have this other need around data enrichment that we are going to swap out. But when you get stuck in a template, it's harder to swap those things out.
Yeah, for sure. And like this transactional approach, basically, we're starting to feel very directly like why the experiences on Fiverr and Upwork and other places where, it looks like quick access is available. But then you hear all the stories related to like, well, they didn't actually serve my needs, or like it's blind leading the blind in so many situations. So we're seeing very clearly that the initial touch point of job to proposal, like without any conversations, it's very hard to accurately set expectations there. But let's take a step back and
Did you know I just want to talk about templates of audits all day today?
I can't. I'm supposed to follow like a structure here, and I'm doing pretty good, I think, in this series. Even though some people have said they like the tangents that I go on, but there will be a time for that. Yeah, we want to learn more about who Casey is, because that's a very big central to profoundly, right? It's we got humans helping humans. That's always going to be a focus. So outside of HubSpot, who is Casey Hawkins?
Been listening to these. I actually today I was thinking, what am I going to say?
Good. That's good.
First and foremost, I am a dog mom. My dog, Frank, my greyhound, is my entire world. He's in bed right now still. He's not much of a morning person. He comes around in the afternoon. If you've been on enough calls with me, you've definitely met him. Also, big Taylor Swift fan. I've got her in my corner here today. Aunt, a runner, reality TV fan, and then I love to travel. I guess I didn't even mention this I usually mention this in my HubSpot journey, but when I started freelancing, it was because my husband and I were living on our sailboat at the time. And so I was looking for a more flexible job. So that's when I left the agency and started freelancing to sail in the Bahamas for 3 months.
This is where we try to tie it to some like B2B lesson, but I don't think we need to today necessarily.
No worries, B2B lessons. Taylor Swift is a
Yeah.
businesswoman.
Yeah. No, like
Her
man,
marketing,
no, it's like one of the best case studies, like the way that like the customer experience, like the fan experience, like it's just unmatched.
brand
And
awareness,
yeah, yeah. So
loyalty.
let's go there then. Like when you serve customers, like what is your favorite thing about like why are you a Swiftie, I think that's the right term,
Yeah,
right?
you got it. You're nailing it.
What is your like is there one thing that you can pick out? Is it just the overall vibe?
I was actually just talking about this morning. I was on a run with a friend, and I was telling her, um, I'm I'm 30. I'm still 30, and so I kind of like grew up with Taylor Swift. She's 30. She just turned 35, and yeah, so I grew up with Taylor Swift, and I think it's like the soundtrack to my life. So to tie that into what I learned like about myself is like the biggest compliment I can get from a client is that they feel like I'm just another team member. I'm an extension of their team. And so how I'm seeing that as parallel, stay with me, is like Taylor Swift feels like a part of my life. Obviously, maybe not obviously, I've never met her, but she feels like a part of my life, of me. And so when I'm working with my clients, I think it's really important that I am a important part of their team. And what I think is important in B2B, one of my clients is a video platform. If their software is we talk about this all the time, if their software is integral to your business, you can't live with, like, if you feel like you can't live without it, you're not going to replace it. The softwares I use every day, HubSpot, obviously, Canva, Fathom, the recorder, like I'm not looking for replacements because those feel so integral to my business. I can't even imagine working without them. And then also even the idea of switching to a competitor, like that just feels like ripping my whole life up and doing that. I mean, if I was just to, switch over and become a big Sabrina Carpenter fan today, then I like Sabrina, no, but I've got a lot of history there.
There's no path. Yeah, there's no path to that. No, that's a good point. Like it goes way beyond know, like, and trust, right? Like there's an emotional attachment there and like in the best kind of way too, right? Like that's I agree. Like when you're collaborating with anybody, the moment where they like ID you as a part of their sphere, like is like, okay, and it just like allows us to focus on value, 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 because there's nothing else that's going to get in the way. And even when you make mistakes, like it's transparency everywhere, and things just start to go better. So I think that's a great takeaway for sure.
And there's so much like, I mean, there's loyalty there. And the loyalty to the fact that you're willing to like wear the swag basically in public, not just like you're joining a HubSpot call and you're wearing your HubSpot shirt, or you're going to inbound and you're wearing your HubSpot shirt. I have a HubSpot backpack that I got when I went to HubSpot. I guess it was 2019. Yeah, 2019. And we did a little Lego photo contest and I won and I got a HubSpot backpack. I can
Congrats.
I can send you the pictures. But yeah, I wear that backpack everywhere. Actually, I've got one time I was in my elevator at my old apartment building and somebody was like, "Oh, do you work at HubSpot or work with HubSpot? I use HubSpot." And I ended up building a couple landing pages for them.
Yeah.
But I'll wear HubSpot swag in public. I'll wear Taylor Swift swag in public. If Canvas Fathom wanted to send me any swag, I'll go to the grocery store and no worries.
Oh, that's a good point. And Brian also says, dibs on the backpack. Legos are life.
Well, I'm sorry, I am a little bit like conflicting the story. Well, there was a photo contest. I happened to have a Lego that looked like was supposed to look like me that I used to win the contest. We posted a picture of that.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. Like that's what we do, right? Like so much of the values, expertise of things we've
Mhm.
already done. So why recreate the wheel? I love it. We're building some narrative around that because like so much of kind of what we've seen in the industry and like SaaS is like new, new, new. Like everything's gonna be new. Man, we've talked about this. Like and hopefully I can convince you to be on the morning show at some point. Like there's so much value already in the system
Mhm.
that you have. Like we just need to light the path for people, and that's what's already starting to happen in the Profoundly community. It's like if somebody has solved this before, let's not leave somebody else on an island and make them solve it separately because that ends up creating challenges for everybody else because now different understandings of how things work in HubSpot pop up. And that brings me to like the HubSpot admin conversation that we're going to be having at the kickoff in a couple different ways. But you raised your hand to moderate in our community, the admin channel. So I'm super curious. We have a panel coming up, with a bunch of awesome people on it, and I should probably get better at just listing their names as I bring it up. But what is a HubSpot admin is going to be this panel. We've known the whole time we've been planning that's probably like the session that brings in the most people because it's a very commonly asked question right now. So for Casey, what is a HubSpot admin?
Was it you or George who said just everyone that's a super admin in your HubSpot account?
Yeah, I definitely have said that. I think it was George yesterday for sure, which is very much him joking because
No,
he
I know.
he he put together an awesome super admin course that I think is starting next week. Highly recommend it. But to be clear, it's very much not that,
Yes, it's not.
which we which we always help customers with that bridge first. No, we're not talking about just the label of super admin here.
No, it's I think it's ideally one person that really owns the HubSpot instance. I was just putting together some documentation yesterday on creating new properties in HubSpot, and one of my best practices is electing one, if you have to, two people to create properties in HubSpot, because otherwise you end up with all these duplicate properties. Because if you have more than one person doing it, then people don't actually know what's already created. So either way, don't need to go on a tangent about property best practices and duplicates. But ideally, one person that's owning HubSpot that has an understanding of how the tools connect, how the data connects within the tool, but also within any integrations that you have. The important part of having a HubSpot admin and why a lot of accounts without one end up very messy is because when you make a change, a lot of times in HubSpot, there's implications. You change a list criteria that could enroll people in a dozen workflows. It could add them to Salesforce, your Salesforce instance when you didn't mean to. There's a lot of downstream implications that can be sometimes very time consuming to clean up. As someone that has spent a lot of time in the Salesforce bulk delete section.
Yeah, you mean like sending 2,500 notifications to the VP of sales
Mhm.
when you turn on the sync? Yeah, that didn't go over very
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah.
I digress. Sorry.
But yeah, so someone that has a deep understanding of your HubSpot account and how that connects to any tools that it is connected to, but also within itself. Do not think that you have to have only one person that can create emails in HubSpot necessarily. You don't have to have just one person that can import contacts or whatever, but someone that's owning the processes and that understands the setting the rules and expectations and data governance and other words like that.
Yeah. No, I like your definition. I like to refer to it as like a awareness, like at all costs of like what HubSpot is, what it's supposed to be doing for the business, how people use it. And hopefully like, one of my goals at least with how I've been talking about this and even interacting with George and the course he's been building and now with Profoundly, it's like 6 hubs and like the days of expecting the admin to be aware of everything and do everything. Like we've already heard people are coming in just to do invoices.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do an admin training and it's focused on like web pages,
Mm-hmm.
like that doesn't help that person out or that company. And, there's a lot of, like you say, understanding that has to go into like, okay, business strategy. HubSpot is a platform to help us execute that strategy. It might only be a couple of the hubs. If it is, why do we have all of them? Or should we be using all of them? Helping people ask those questions. And that's where the admin and the person who owns the success of HubSpot, I think is so important. And if I may, I've been wanting to tell this story from last week because like when I first got to a bigger company, like there was a clear and it relates to the conversation of like, is HubSpot just a one and done implementation or is it an ongoing product, everboarding, all this stuff? It's like, it's never ends. Like, there's no 90-day period where it's like, okay,
Now we've
we're
done it.
done. It's going to work. That's very much how IT projects work, right? And all the back office systems are like, okay, let's create this big plan and then we're going to like, finish the plan and then we just make sure it works. We don't necessarily make sure it's working for people. It's just not broken,
Mm-hmm.
right? So last week I was in an Uber with an older gentleman as the driver, and I was trying to explain what I did for a living. I tried to relate it to customer experience and helping people with systems. And at some point, he made the leap to like, oh, so you can set up the chat bots on the websites. Turns out, like he had been a developer of like ERP systems for like 20 years, like really, really old ones. So it ended up being a good conversation. But at some point, he was like, so you're in IT. And I was like, how dare you? Like, certainly not. Because we like the beauty of this ecosystem, the beauty of this product is like in why we can get to less messy, portals is that it's about the users. And our like owning the success of HubSpot means for me, are the users successful using HubSpot? And now that there's 6 hubs in play and we're dealing with multiple departments, anything we can do to help the community, understand that the admin's remit now is very large. And the more HubSpot you use, it's like the less that you ask this person to fix because we've got to deal with all these different people and make sure they're using it. So thank you for that like little soapbox there. I could get on, but I think you nailed it in terms of like just somebody that understands the system and owns it. Before we wrap, is there anything else you're looking forward to? At that kickoff event, we got some good tracks set
Yeah.
up.
I am excited about some of the AI conversations. I love using AI to make my job easier. I say all the time, I don't write a single email anymore. Just last night, I was texting my friends and I had AI rewrite it because I and
Because
I was
why
like,
not?
what happened to my brain?
I love it. Full collaboration mode. I
Yeah.
love it.
But excited to see how other people are using AI to share some of the ways that I'm using AI to make me more efficient, to focus my time on where my where I think my brain actually helps, and where I don't need to use my brain.
For the things we're used to using it for, I'll say,
Yeah,
so that we can use it in all these other valuable ways, like being humans to humans.
exactly.
Well, I'm excited too, and I appreciate you taking the time to tell us who you are today. If anybody else wants to become a pro like Casey or check out this event, just head over to Profound. Pretty easy to register for stuff, and you'll get access to the community when you do that,
I think
and
I've
you'll get to hang out with Casey yourself.
I think I've registered like 5 different times because each time you share it, I'm like, yeah, I definitely got to be there, and then I'm like, oh, I've done this already. I'm just so excited.
Yes. Well, we appreciate that enthusiasm, and again, you hanging out with us today. Um, and until next time, we hope everybody has a great week. Thanks so much, Casey.
Thank you.